Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Room. We have somewhat of a different kind of interview today, shall I say? A different kind of video for this series. We actually welcome somebody who's not a wrestler, not a promoter, but somebody who is the editor and the creator of C Wrestling magazine, which which you've seen me show in some of these videos before. We have Simon on the channel with us today. How's it going, my man?
Hi, mate. How's it going?
Very good, thank you. Um, we got in contact with each other shortly after the Super P interview that we put up on the channel, and I was very lucky that you actually sent me copies of the C Wrestling magazine. So for
I
people
did,
that
yeah.
don't know much about this magazine, first off, what was the story kind of behind setting up this magazine?
Uh, so I'm gonna skip a lot of a long sort of story about me at Big Shot. It's nothing people want to listen to. But basically, after a long gap in my life of I waned from being a very, very hardcore fan growing up. And then I moved to Vietnam and kind of faded out. I was very far away from the city as the sort of wrestling scene in Vietnam developed. And then post COVID, I got brought along by some colleagues of mine, and it really kind of ignited a passion in me again for wrestling. And like a lot of people these days, you find when you got a bit too much spare time, you find yourself kind of doom scrolling and not really doing anything productive. So I really want to do something meaningful. And I'd just been kind of browsing and getting to know some of the promotions in the Southeast Asian area as some of the different wrestlers came over to visit my home promotion, VPW. And was like, wow, there should be something more centralized for these guys. Certainly talking about news, perhaps doing interviews. Um, so I set up a website at the end of last year. Very, very shortly afterwards, I I was like, do you know what? This would be really nice if it was in a magazine. Um, and I looked into it, and with modern technology, it's just not that hard to start developing one. So I did the first issue back at the beginning of the year, and it was really well received. So now we've just released our third issue. I wish I had a copy to show you. Unfortunately, it's downstairs in my motorbike over in Vietnam, and that's how I get around, and it's pouring with rain.
Oh
So
no.
I'm just not willing to risk the motorbike or my shoes to go and get it. But you can see the cover, and you can read it online at cwrestling.net if you'd like to find out what it's all about, and it's totally free to read online.
It is a brilliant magazine. I was so glad when you sent me the copies, and I was it almost sounded like an insult then. I was a backhanded one. I was surprised with the quality of it, of how good it was. Yeah, and I didn't mean that to sound like a backhanded compliment. But no, it is brilliantly done, and you can see the actual love that you've got for that particular scene. Within it, I think it seeps out to every page. You can
Mm.
definitely see that within the magazine.
Yeah, we kind of um, there's a bit of a like it's kind of a philosophy, or like what we want to do is not be there like filling it full of criticism and hate and negativity like a lot of sorry if you're one of these wrestling publications. Yeah, offended, but a lot of negativity and criticism. The scene is very new here. um Almost all the promotions that are currently active have been going for less than 10 years. And they've really got momentum going. It's going strong, but it's a long learning curve. And the wrestlers, they don't have the opportunity to have 20 matches a month like they do in America, and learn from the veterans on an on an every night basis. So it is a slow process. Not, we're trying to just make it a positive thing, bring people together, engage the fans more in the whole kind of region, and just sort of help build something.
Like we said at the start of this interview, it's very different this interview because I got in contact with Simon, and instead of just going through questions like we do in most interviews, I wanted to discover more about sea wrestling, because I'm kind of just dipping my toe in with interviews and, I know very little really in the grand scheme of things. So what we've done today, we've got three matches that we're going to go through. We're going to show today and hopefully Simon could fill me in on all the gaps and, we'll try and learn more and more. And so the first match that we've actually got out, I think we're going to find out quite a lot about different wrestlers because we've actually got a gauntlet match here. Fill us in with the basic details. So this is, I could see Hard and Hard was the show there.
So, Heart to Heart, I think, is the show. I haven't actually watched this match.
Oh wow!
It's on my
Okay.
watch later list for a while. This was kind of the tail end, I believe, of last year. From the date escapes me. And this is Puso wrestling. So you're going to see them inside the brawl pit in Bulasan, which is the outskirts of Manila, that area in the Philippines. And the Puso is kind of one of three promotions. They share a ring, they share a roster, um, and sort of promotions. And Puso, from what I can kind of gather, they focus more on like the local talent. They don't bring in the imports. They do a regular live stream show, which like a non can't attend it. It's all online, and it's just absolute mayhem. Don't grab in all the different directions. Like the last one was all about is meant to be all about those women and their cats. So it starts the opening match as a battle royal with all the male wrestlers being cats.
Right. Okay.
Um, yeah, but I chose this one as I wanted to kind of show their origins. They're all now using sort of better sets. They've got better production values.
Mm.
Dexcom, which is the other promotion, they are now broadcasting their shows on Triller.
Yes, it did notice that. Yeah.
And they just had a show with Zack Sabre Jr. and El Fantasma in the main event. So they're quite high level. And Puso, I think next weekend has their first fan attended show of 2025 as well.
Yeah. So there we go. Jake to the were kind of the originator, I guess, in the Philippines, right? Is that
Yeah, yeah, Jake Leon. So he goes back all the way to sort of the kind of the founding T promotion, which is they're both unfortunately defunct now. We had the Philippine Wrestling Revolution and the Manila Wrestling Federation. And they were both from about 2012, 13. The series of main promotions. Manila Wrestling Federation actually had a TV show, and they lasted until about 2022. And this is kind of this promotion. Fuso is X amount, like half the roster have come here, and they're rutting for the free in the brawl pit, led by Jade DeLeon. He sees Babylare McKissick, and they've had a training up and re wrestlers. And then you've also got Filipino Pro Wrestling, who are still on TV in the Philippines, and they do have some of their TV shows on YouTube as well. But yeah, Jake DeLeon's kind of been sort of the leading baby, so to speak. Yeah.
so? So we in the Philippines then? Do they, like you said then? Do they have a lot of their like local promotions on like local TV as well? Then
At the moment, I think it's only Filipino. Is it? Yeah, Filipino Pro Wrestling (FPW) is the only one
right.
actually on TV there. What we're watching now is not trying to knock it because I think it's brilliant, and they know it will- it's brilliant. Um, but it's very much it's just a one. It's they do run from one arena at the moment with a ring, and
Right.
then Buso do those live shows. I think it was in your discussion with Super P that you she mentioned it. One of the reasons all that is they can't dismantle the ring.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that when she told me that story. It's like, I just can't. Yeah, they said they all have to kind of get together to push it into the corner. You know, they can't actually dismantle the ring. Unbelievable.
It's yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it's quite common here to save transport costs in Southeast Asia that these sort of spot shows or special events they tend to use the mats and do it kind of Choco Bro
Right.
Gatomove style as well. Um, you do have a couple of promotions like an Top Dojo in Thailand that are entirely mat based, but there's quite a few that mix it up. So Puso do when they go to events. Grapple Max in Singapore and Singapore Progress name where they use the mats as well on a regular basis.
Would you say, like, now that you probably know more about wrestling within that side of the world than anywhere else in the world, is that kind of like your expertise now, would you say?
I would say so. I've somehow managed to like harness my own like when I was like 15, that 16, that level of passion
Yeah.
I used to have to know everybody on a 10-hour Ring of Honor show from 2003 and their names, where they worked the night before and all that to really to the build my BMU. It's a big changing and people they're coming back that had disappeared for 2 or 3 years and I'm some now who's that and trying to find out some more about them so that I can when I'm doing free views things like that. Doing the right line.
So who have we got in the ring with Jake Delhomme now?
So that is Serapin Liwanag. So he's part of a stable. I think the translation is like the Brothers of Light.
Okay.
They've been around quite a while as like a heel faction. And they, at the moment, they're sort of quite prominent as well in the Dexcon shows. There's all different members. So you've got Seraphim, Solomon, and another one whose name I don't do right now. So, but they also tag up with quite a lot with MSG, which is a tag team or faction. I don't know which way they would want to put it, but of Chelsea Marie and Ravenna, who again they've sort of had a little bit more of a resurgence, higher spots on the card in the last couple of Dexcons. And highly entertaining is a very arrogant sort of it couple.
So when like you mentioned back in like say 2003ish when you were like you knew everything about these Ring of Honor shows. I was reading in the first magazine that you would like kind of got into the tape trading side of things and you wanted to kind of find all these obscure different matches and different shows. What were some of like the biggest things that you were looking for at that time, do you think?
Anything. I mean, anything. At first, it was just whatever I could get my hands on cheaply, like Ring of Honor. And then once I got my fill of that, it's okay. Let's try and get some of those, like early TNA shows. And then it got deep. You'd start deep diving into like all pro wrestling from 2000 and 2001 and early, either ECWA, Super 8 tournaments,
Right.
and things like that. A lot of what I was often like trying to get hold of was things where there were some of the Brits like Johnny Storm, Joby Blige, Doug Williams. I wanted to see the shows they were on. That is a big part of it. There's always been more of a draw to watch something when I've met, interacted groups
Course.
of people, and that's kind of been the spur here. You know, Vietnam Pro Wrestling often brings over the Southeast Asia Halley, and we and and then I get interested in what they've been doing, where they've been working, and it just sort of snowballed again.
Mm. So we got it's showing the highlight video for the Tron there. It's just coming in.
That's a good. You can kind of see, like, when you can see the sort of multicolored ropes. That's the Manila Wrestling Federation. So they're still using some of the video footage from that. Gonna build their right in case. We got Ken Cypher coming in, who's sort of a shooter type character here. Definitely can go. To sort of insider wording. He's recent, yeah, again, he was on the recent sort of Dexcom show. He's WrestleStorm 2. He won the sorry, he lost the WCW Tag Team Championships to Solomon Luanag and Ravenna, who in turn lost them at a WW show about a week or so later to the Rockheads, which are some veteran Japanese guys.
Right. Okay.
The kind of house, the one of them, Fubo Fugo, he's helped kind of rebuild some of the promotions in the Philippines, like WEW, and also he had a big hand in training the Vietnam Pro Wrestling guys about 10 years ago.
Got the wise move.
Where would you say was like the biggest scene probably at the moment? Would it be the Philippines? Would it be Vietnam? Where would you think?
Oh, you're gonna get me in. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Oh.
I would know. I would say sorry, guys, but I would have to say Singapore still has the kind of the biggest C. So they've got 3 promotions. The Philippines does as well, but they have been running more sporadically. Feels. But the Singapore, you've got 3 completely distinct independent promotions. You've got Singapore Pro Wrestling, who Alexis Lee, who interviewed guys for, which is very much sports entertainment, leaning kind of the hardcore. Then you've got Grapple Matters, run by a guy called Greg. And that's a training school and also promotions he barely seasoned wrestlers now. They're a little bit cleaner, a little bit more pure wrestling. What they've got is they've got really just the amazing creators to build shows to help them sort of sell the storylines. The ones they've done this year are just fantastic. And then you've got a small kind of training school, almost like community wrestling, I think they would call it, like the King of Rebirth, which they just run in their training center, and they just put on sort of that once every kind of 6 weeks, a sort of show. It's got a very different vibe. Something I would say something unusual, but when we've got an alien coming out in front of us on the screen,
Yeah, I did notice.
it's our alien friend. He's brilliant. I don't know if I can say Ring of Rebirth's really unusual.
Friend looks bigger than when you last saw it.
So sort of, yeah, Jake DeLeon's kind of going through everyone in this ball there.
Yeah, he does seem to be so far.
He's an
I was just trying to work out what Alien Friend's first move was going to be there.
okay. He wants to be your friend. Here.
Okay, straight in with the handshake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he want to wrestle or does he want to be his
For Jake DeLeon, he had a tryout with the WWE a few years ago. He's right up there. And I know him and female Filipino wrestler Crystal, who's had numerous matches with allegedly were there. I think Alexa D might have been there as well. And I know he said it was kind of one of the hardest things he'd ever done, and they were really drilling them and putting him through their phases. That's the one in China.
Right. Yeah.
walks away. I think Alien.
I guess like because like I was speaking to Ho Ho Loon the other day on the podcast, and when we were talking, kind of he was as he was taught wrestling the slam. He said his teacher was. I was trying to think of the name then. And when he came to the UK, he still wasn't even sure, like, if he could wrestle. He kind of had to go to a different scene to kind of see if his training was correct and, like, is this actually right? So I guess like within smaller scenes, until like they kind of either travel or kind of go out, they kind of don't really know at that point, really.
Go back to space.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be not that uncommon. I mean, it's really how even I think certain places like Japan started to play. Somebody went away, they learned to wrestle, and then they came back, brought in some people. Uh, but they brought them in, and then they teach them, and it's really the way a lot of this has kind of gone. Rocky and Sid, he started Vietnam Pro Wrestling. That's sort of they trained here through Vertugo, and then they've trained others, and it's built up. And I believe that's how Singapore Pro Wrestling started back in 2012. Oh, there's a collection from earlier. I said none of the promotions are for 10 years. I think it's coming 25. Um, but yeah, that's very common. But they do get some of them do get the chance to go to Japan or the UK, and they do come back with that experience to share it. I do love that sort of community spirit that the ones who get to go help bring over or like help support the ones who are still there. And but it's not like for me or you, we can roll over to Japan or um America, and you can walk in without anyone caring. But they a lot of the places in Southeast Asia, you've got to get a visa, you've got to have valid reasons. So it's not quite as easy for you guys to all and get the experience. Except for the Singaporeans, they can't get to go. Which is great for them.
It's strange, isn't it? How it's like places that are so close together, but then it can have such a different kind of experience as well. Kind of like just traveling across the world.
Yeah. Great for traveling. It's been great while I've been here over the last kind of 12 years. And it's amazing for the wrestling because they all bring something different to this table, how they present it. So, um, looking at this, the Puso now, you probably can't see it as much as if you were to go and watch their more up to date shows from Dexcon on Triller. There's kind of like a little bit of that sort of Latin Mexican vibe to the way that they and there's also that happy go lucky kind of Filipino feel to where nothing super serious. So when somebody's a real bad like naughty hit, they get some amazing reaction from the crowd. Uh, like there's a guy called Jomar who's actually huge, like in terms of his size, and he assaulted Yoshikatsu at WrestleStorm, and then he put his digs into this other to a guy who does the Dexcon. Oh, he's hated now, and it's all just that balance. And yeah, like the Singaporeans have got that kind of, you've got the mix about sort of Indian origin, the talent with the Chinese Singaporeans, and he's the same in Malaysia, and they're all kind of doing their own way of doing things, and it just creates this sort of eclectic scene where if you watch something from someone else, it's got a very different feel, rather than be as homogenous as perhaps the American scene it's got these days. Yeah.
Driven down onto the canvas.
So he did get the pin.
He did get
Yeah.
he's run through them.
He has. And oh, there we go.
Let's bring in. So this is someone I feel I should talk about, but he's if you've got your copy of season at the issue to be in front of you, he's on the cover with the one to sell Capibonero, which is at the Bonero, and he is accompanied, I believe, by the third member Patricia Legaya, who's recently been wrestling for Ice Running.
That's right. Yeah, I did see that.
And that's been brilliant. They've kind of just worked this whole story where she's gone to visit like Yappy, the Filipino wrestlers over there, and Yappy's just a bit more serious, a bit more hardcore, not too keen at having this bubbly young girl following her around, and then messing around with all these sort of the cutesy Joshi stars. They even had like her, like Patricia's trainer, sort of like on social media. Yappy's like, it's yours. Like complaining to Sabiel about her. It's been quite entertaining if you sort of followed it along. Um, and then yeah, Hellcat Spinero, he's really kind of coming out as well. He's had what I've heard through my contact, is a great singles match. WWE Master Clash a couple of about a month and a half ago. With May Max, the sort of Filipino champion as well. So these guys are really sort of coming to prominency with Jake as well at the moment. This is sort of the top level of Dina wrestling.
Oh, love the snap German suplex there.
While we got a moment, I'll just say get listening to Super B as
Oh, it was typical timing. It was. I, I spoke to her and she was saying like she had this match. Like it was pretty much like the next day, because the time difference. It was later that night, and then it was literally straight away. She just had this awful knee injury, and she suffered from knee injuries before. But it was pretty much just everything that could have gone wrong in that small part of your body just kind of all went at the same time.
yeah, and I think all three of the Super Friends are just brilliant. I think they just pop out the screen at you, and so I really do hope she, makes a full recovery and gets back because I do, and with the whole team they've got, I really do think that Super P and Alcat Spinera and Patricia Legaya, they could really like lead the Filipino scene up a couple of notches. And I don't say that lightly, but I just think the gimmick, it resonates. They're such wonderful people. It resonates with people, and you watch them, and you're like, that's brilliant, and they're just such hardworking, fun characters that you can't help but love them and want to go and see them again. As I think I said to you, that El Castanero and Super P's match against the Best Bros in races 1 and 2 it's just brilliant. It's just marvelous. You never quite know what's going to happen next. I mean, May Saruga's she's just mad.
Yeah.
She's just mad. That was the boss match. She's just bonkers.
And a tiny, tiny, tiny human.
And as I was complimenting their other matches, Benares won this contest. It sort of showed, a very wide range of the Filipino guys in here. And I really think you've got to watch a few shows of Stan when he has to give up Puso, Dexcon, WW. If you can, they've got some content on YouTube. And from what I'm told, more of it's going to be available as you on YouTube. So yeah, it's a vicious rumor. I'm not talking about the business in case anyone wants to shoot against me. But I do hope it is going to break back. And the production values they've got going now and stuff. Brilliant.
I mean, us in the UK now, that's how I have to watch AEW live. It's, the GCW shows, it's just everything is on there, at this time. We mentioned that Super P match. I remember talking to Balianaki about the, I'm going to butcher the name now. I think is it the Dolphin Star Press, their finishing move, the Best Bros finishing move? And I was trying to understand how he came up with this unbelievable finishing move, because he kind of flips May into the air, and somehow the way he turns his hands, he gets it to do a shooting star press kind of mid-air, and I think it's one of the best finishing movers I think I've ever seen.
I think it's because of the Choco Pro thing. I think the fact that they have kind of got together and they've worked in an environment without a ring has meant they've had to finger something that's not can't use the ropes. Um, and it and that's how it's developed. When you know you need to take something away sometimes to have that creativity. Um, which I see a lot in the Southeast Asian wrestling scene as well. They do a lot of these match shows, and I think a lot of that does provide that extra practice and the unique sort of environments, and they bring that back to you know bigger matches as well, where they're back in the ring.
Well, well, that's it. I mean, it's a good point because you could kind of a lot of people. I don't know if this is kind of like a British thing. Maybe it is a Western thing. I'm not sure. But then you kind of, when people kind of try and buy the best tools and they think that's how they're going to do the job. Whereas in these kind of scenes, if they don't have something, they'll find a creative way to kind of work around it. I think it's a marvelous thing, they're not using their lack of equipment or lack of expertise coming in to kind of I think it doesn't stifle their creativity. It only enhances it.
It's and that's kind of the how it is a lot in Southeast Asia, certainly in Vietnam in real life. Um, you know, it's one of the things I respect the most about the cultures out here is doing it themselves, figuring it out. Um, and I do, I think that's brilliant for wrestling. They are figuring things out and they are working out what works, and it's all of what's creating this sort of unique flair. Rather than just always trying to copy what they've seen on like the American indies or Japan or a mix of both. We've got this kind of where there are bits that are coming from scene A, scene B, and they're putting it all together to create something kind of unique.
I think that's set out the second match here on the screen. But I think that's kind of like this is what always creates the best art, no matter what it is. When people take influences from different places and kind of amalgamate it to make it their own thing. It's how the best filmmakers do it. It's how the best bands do it. This exactly the same with art as wrestling as an art form as well. So I can see the date. So this is from February 2025. So quite a recent match as well. Within this last year,
Yeah.
the Wonder Boy versus Hot Shot.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to be seeing Wonder Boy tonight, Vietnam Pro Wrestling Ultimate Collision. Uh, but this was the main event of Causeway Jam. So this is the aforementioned Grapple Max. And they do a joint show on an annual basis with Malaysia Pro Wrestling, who are sort of the one of the two big promotions in Malaysia with APAC. Um, and yeah, they do this every year, and there's a series of matches, and they win points. And the main event this year was Wonder Boy, who's part of the Juicy Boys tag team with Miles Carew, against the reigning and still reigning champion of Grapple Max, Hot Shot. So at this point, we've already seen this is sort of the tiebreaker, and I believe Miles Carew's already faced SPD, and now we're coming to the main event. I'm just trying to remember all the back, but I didn't watch some of it the other day. The basic their thing at the moment, the Juicy Boys, you can see Miles in the background. They're Malaysians who decided they love Malaysia. Their faces in Malaysia, a la Bret Hart, kind of 97.
Okay.
But outside Malaysia, especially in Singapore, they are horrible heels. They do not like the Singaporeans.
All
The
right.
Singaporeans started booing them, and they basically behave appallingly.
So how many people do we think would be at a show like this? Because it's hard to tell from like this angle. Because I think there's a couple of rows maybe on the right hand side, maybe the same on the left.
This is Grapple Max Studios. This is their kind of they own this venue, and I believe it's got capacity only for about 150 people,
Okay.
which is pretty good. like a training center. But they do other shows outside. So they've just done Fight Club, which was it was a map-based show in a very fancy cinema where they used like the screen and they had bits that were on film and they sort of fought up and down the stands. And then their next big show outside the studio is what's Pro Wrestling Festival, which is in July, where they'll crown their first Ryby championship, which is like a mid card fighting.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they do a few shows outside and a lot inside, and they get very good crowds. Even their sort of trainee graduate shows sell out now. They're doing really well.
Oh, it's amazing.
But this is one of their biggest shows each year that because they jam, and it has been in outside venues, but for whatever reason they chose to do it inside the studios.
Right. Okay. So we have a champion making his way down to the ring now. Obviously, we could hear the crowd there in the background. Obviously, like you said, the fan favorite in this match.
Yeah, I mean, Hotshot's super over. As is SPD. He was Miles Breeze opponent earlier, and actually, in the whole grapple match, Rossi actually Obi banned now. There's nobody who had the bands, sitting in silence. So they really did come alive, these guys. It's been absolutely amazing to watch some of them this year and the performances. And I think it's a lot of these short, like they use like this is such YouTube Shorts format, and they use really creative promos and beams, and they sort of drip feed them out between the shows and up you in depth within the next one.
Right. Okay. I mean, YouTube Shorts, it seems to be the way that, I don't know if it's just the algorithm that they programmed it this way, but it's definitely something if you're trying to like grow channels and things, YouTube Shorts definitely does seem to be the way over long form videos these days.
So interesting thing I will be talk about from a journalistic point of view is you'll see that they just lost them last night, but they're at this point Miles and Wonder Boy are the Singapore Pro Wrestling. I thank you. So they will work because they are Malaysian, but Pro Wrestling they kind of work. They get to work for both the Singapore promotions, but you have this. We haven't had any kind of crossover between two promotions in a while. But it's not that they're going to get on. It's just that they're doing their own thing, from what I've been told. So they go, yeah, you don't sort of see it. That it's like these outside, like these people outside through another country. They pop in and they work there, and then you've got kind of similar thing in Malaysia where you've got APAC that was founded by the original founding name of Malaysia Pro Wrestling, and he's sort of moved on. And he will book some Singapore Pro Wrestling wrestlers, but the two Malaysian promotions don't cross over. It's
Now, right today.
it's very strange. I mean, I do hope that eventually they all start to work together and a bit more. But I guess at the moment, as there is in wrestling, some people prefer to work together and other stuff.
Yeah, of course. Has there ever been like a kind of a massive super show where all these promotions kind of do all come together?
Not on a grand scale. The kind of great. This is about it. Like officially at the moment, you've got the Causeway Jam thing going on, and set up in Thailand and Singapore Pro Wrestling are working very tightly together now. You've got the big kind of real bladed Breck storyline, which is also included in Malaysia Pro Wrestling. It's just kind of a Southeast Asians, NWO, as a news comparison, where you got Shivan, who's the cop guy in Thailand, and then you've got top guy in Singapore Pro Wrestling, Statement Andrew Sang, and now they've just had Eman Asman join them, who's very good wrestler from Malaysia Pro Wrestling. He's just come back from Australia, so he's been wrestling a lot, and he's phenomenal. He's got punch.
Okay.
Yeah, into this match now.
It's one of these things. I'm gonna have to watch this interview back so many times to like you mentioned so and so. I'll have to look up so and so. So when oh go on.
No, I just don't even know what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry, I cut over you. I was gonna say, when you first got into wrestling, I believe it was Backlash, and would it have been 2003? Is it around?
2000.
Oh, 2000. Sorry, 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2000. It was. I had, the wrestling craze started at the end of '99. It was 2000. It was a little, it was a little bit slow on the uptake with the Sunday Night Heat I had views on Channel 4. And in the end, I just kind of was like, all right, I'll watch some Heat, see what it's all about. I was like, well, it's okay, but it was really backtrash. So it's the Dudley Boys TNA match that really caught my attention, and then the main event there, Triple H, and Rock, and of course Austin. Ever since then, it was like, wow, that's great. I've got to had more, and then it just kind of built, and then I got into British wrestling about 2 years later when it came to I saw a poster where a Lopi show in Cornwall. And then from there I just grew, more takes, more shows. I went to UB near London. So I was watching that the FWA at the tail end, and then IPW as well in its sort of origin. And then I stayed into the mainstream stuff, I guess, from to 08, 09, and the indie thing kind of waned. And then moving over to Vietnam, I got more and more kind of attached in it when all I could watch was WWE. And it wasn't the best years for them, about 2014.
I was gonna say that's why I had the 3 in my head. It was 2013. You moved to Vietnam. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. That's why I had the 3 in my head. I was like 2003. No, that doesn't sound right. It was the 13 I was thinking of. Yeah. I mean, they were dark days in a WWE around that point.
And I'd moved over. The weather's better here. It's a lot more difficult to keep you indoors, and it was, and I saw a bit more of a rise back into wrestling, with COVID and being locked down and AEW, and I had my son about that time, so there's a lot more time at home. And then it was as he got old enough that I had leaving that when he finally got into Vietnam for wrestling that led to most of the passions of it.
So a sunset flip into the ring now. Oh, 2 count there.
Yeah, very, very smooth. But he is very smooth to won the ball. He's I'm not quite sure like who these in ring he's the standout star between Miles and Wonderball and in single matches.
Right.
These are both extremely contenders wrestlers, as well as an excellent tag team, both of heels and faces. I'm a bit interested in what they'll come as tonight, or be the good guys or the bad guys.
Right. Is there much of a style difference between the two? Or are they quite similar?
I would actually say Wonder Boy, as you can see, is a little bit stockier, a little bit stronger. He's a little bit more in terms of the power moves, whereas Miles Carews a little bit quicker, a little bit more in the air,
Right.
the other thing you can't see in this video, but I recommend anyone watching to get nip up is Miles Crew he's got the kind of Joe Hendry style that he creates custom songs or his opponents that
All right.
is yeah. So we've got another one tonight. He's confirmed is happening, and I don't know if they did one last night or hit their Titan. And sometimes they don't bother. I guess it's just maybe time with solution it was.
I was trying to work it then, looking at the tights of Hotshot, who it reminds me of. Very similar to somebody, and I can't think who it is. Is it maybe Angelico? Maybe? I guess maybe that's the colours that are kind of putting me into that vibe.
Yeah. They've got like sort of 2000s throwback. A lot of people sort of on like because were wearing them in the sort of in the mid card of the WWF. And not to go hot shot on mid carder in case you're listening.
I'd like that as well. Yeah, that's it. Every time I see something, I'm like, oh god, is that come out the wrong way? It's not what I meant at all. But always panic. I'm going to insult somebody at some point.
As we get through this, as the sort of the match progresses, you'll get to see a bit more of the roster. I think you can even see sort of at the back already. There's some of the Grapple Night roster had kind of come out.
Right.
At the back, I think that's a few members. I can't make out who it is exactly. I think that could be Didier. He's Indian born. Actually, she's done back to India for the moment, but she comes over and lets you for grab big sport. My shows. I don't know if she bases herself in Singapore in that time or she's in and out from India. She's just been featured on the BBC World Service in a podcast.
All right.
Which was looking at Indian heritage and Chinese heritage, like females with the background and how families react to wrestling. And the Chinese wrestler was Zia Lee,
Right.
formerly of WWE. So sort of a big, to be chosen to be up there with the former WWE superstar as well, I guess, was his company.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, she was on the map. She was on this show earlier. She wrestled Poppy Shake. He's Malaysia wrestling. He's kind of number one women's wrestler. Breaking a little bit of kayfabe, but they break it enough on social media. Let's just say very good friends with Wanda though, Poppy Shake.
Right. Okay.
I feel like now I try to keep, I do get told a few things. I do try to keep stum, but if it's being broadcast online, I'm kind of.
That's it. That's it.
I don't talk about it in the magazine.
Yes, exactly. Talking of trying not to insult people and maybe sticking to kayfabe. The interview I did with Loki the other week was possibly one of the strangest interviews I've done so far. I could not tell at all during the interview if he was enjoying himself or he hated every second of it. Very, very intense individual.
I haven't watched that yet.
Right.
He is on my list. Yeah, I do quite like listening to him on sort of spiraling away with my real world job. For hours and hours on it.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone from my job's listening, I love the job. It's even better. He's a good wrestling podcast on me.
Exactly.
And so here we go. While we've been wobbling, this is this sort of the schmoz. So Mars Carew, it I believe sort of triggers this. And then the Graphomax wrestlers and the Malaysian wrestlers kind of all start to fall in, and it's easily got a bit out of control. So that's, I think it's Julian there, and then that's Kaiser from Malaysia Pro Wrestling. And then that is Kelby Lang. And he's got a lot bigger, some months. And then got Phoenix Rose Sirwal, who are Lovely Freedom as a tag team. And yeah, this is Divya. Shoes in now. And you'll notice that there's a lot more intergender wrestling in Southwest Asia. Here's Obishay as well. You will notice that's just because the roster depth has been very low. So the women get to training and working with the men. But it's starting to get a lot bigger. There's a lot more women in. And here is SPD, one of the top Battle Max baby faces. He's not very baby.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
I think the Gravel Max fans would say she's asking for it.
Yeah, there you go. And a lovely looking stunner.
So yeah, it's kind of like it's building up, and if you ask me like where's the best top place for female athletes, that's Creative Philippines at the moment. They've got the biggest certainly roster that's ready and actively wrestling on a regular basis. They usually could get a league title to sort of solidify it, but they've got a great roster of female wrestlers. Obligatory die, but I don't know how we fit that one though. So tight.
I was going to say, you didn't have a lot of space to land, Ed.
No.
Also, the Juicy Boys seem to have taken over at this point in this match.
Yeah, like they are. The fools were huge at this point. It was a hot ring at this point. And this is his signature double team finisher. The name escapes Sweet. This is one of the problems with the MS30. I'm trying to remember and talk about wrestling how I did when I was 16.
Yeah.
I just can't retain any information. I have to have this little puppet book sometimes.
I know that feeling very well.
So, coming up to, not the spoiler, but coming to kind of the sort of beginnings now. They're in control. Everyone else is sort of out on the ground or still drooling or working. I think one of the best things is they kept the sort of one of the top heel tag teams, Shix Ahoy from the Godfulness. They kept them heels. They didn't bring him out to help.
Right.
And here comes the returning Ban Majalai. I don't have to steal his names as often as I probably should. So he returned to this show, and so he's one of his main eventers of Grapple Mats. Making Hotshot aware he would love a title match at some point, which is still to come. He's been feuding with Big Day. He's another referee. They just had a brilliant chairs match.
A chairs match, did you say?
They had a cinematic chairs match.
Right, okay.
I would just say wait until it comes out on when they've got the videos ready.
Yeah.
I've only seen like clips and beams from the audience, but the whole event, it's like, once they put it prevented as a proper cam, super really did that. And I certainly be covering it maybe in the next issue, and might have to be a very bumper issue with everything that's gone on since in May and into June.
I've noticed a lot. I thought he was going to hit the DDT then. Nope, cut that. And there we go. Hot Trot retains.
They win the Causeway Jam Pop, which Grapple Max created. So I guess they get cute. Legal way do it. That's all.
I notice a lot with these companies. Or we mentioned like YouTube Shorts and things that they do kind of a long time before they release like the whole shows and everything. they do throw out all these like little clips, almost like little teasers and things, so you do see little bits, like you said, but then you got to wait for this whole show to be released.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's just getting the editing right.
Yeah.
Compared to us Brits, we're not the most keen on being in front of the camera and films that, it's very important to have good production and look good in Asia.
Yes.
So I think it takes a long time to get things ready with the budget. A lot of people are doing it for free still, because it's very grassroots. So, they've got great people doing it. In all the promotions, the production value is just shockingly good if you compare it to what it like the birth of like the US indies and the British indies.
Yeah.
But it's it takes time because people have got other things going on.
Well, we had Carrie Silkin, the former owner of ROH, on the other day, and when he was talking, like one of the first things he did when he bought or he took over ROH was, right, we got to get lighting. He was just in these like kind of brightly lit gymnasiums that first year of ROH, and then as soon as you saw the lighting, you're like, oh yeah, it's just so different now. The look instantly changed like overnight.
I mean, I do like it. I do like a nice big room lit up if it looks good.
Yeah.
Not everywhere looks great. There was some like ROH venues that their original venue looked awful, but then there was some other ones like I think the Boston one was just beautiful red bricks, and then they come at blah. I'm not keen on that, but each their own. So just to sort of change the subject, this is in the last match. This is from Double Cross, set up Thailand. So we're in Bangkok now for Double Cross. But this young lady coming out, this is Alexis Lee. She is now the Singapore Pro Wrestling Vixens. Vixens, no, that's her other title. Queen of Asia champion again after defeating Yuki Kamatuku last night after about 2 years of chasing her. So she didn't have to retire as she
Yes. It's just about to mention.
played into that. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't book or she didn't announce any bookings.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alexis is brilliant. It also helps if she shares a lot of my social media content into what we're doing. So of course, if you're a fan of me, I'm a fan of you. Yeah, and no, I think she's brilliant. She was great in her matches in Vietnam that I've seen her at. And this is in Thailand, and this is kind of I believe this is a number one contenders match for the set up All Asia Women's Championship, which is at this point was Pom. I can't remember her surname. I want to say Pompoku, but that's a Ghibli film, isn't it? But she dropped it to Raku in the TJPW, who's coming back today as well as the show tonight, where she's coming to face the winner of this match.
Right.
And these two have also been over in Golden Week. They were in the TJPW for sort of a Southeast Asian Women's takeover with Nor Phoenix Sayana, who's a Malaysian, a very accomplished wrestler who works for Booker T in Reality of Wrestling. So these two, and then also Viva Vaughn from AEW was there to reclaim the PW Women's Championship, as well on the same set of cards. So they still had this Southeast Asian Women's takeover, which was fun to watch.
I remember in the interview with Alexis Lee, because I didn't know if the retirement was going to happen, obviously, or not. And obviously, because she hadn't mentioned any dates previously, it was kind of like building up to this match. And, I 100% didn't know which way it was going to go. I'm so glad she didn't.
Yeah. I did wonder, is she just sort of keeping Sturm and, she's only got, there's an injury or something like that. But I'm pleased she hasn't, because she is kind of the backbone of, Singapore Pro Wrestling's women's division, and they kind of now they've got like 3 or 4 girls, and they've got a bit more going on locally. So and they do a lot of the promotions to have sort of relied on her to kind of come over and help and support. So it would be a real loss if she left. And her opponent Matcha, she's a lot newer. I mean, she's been wrestling about 3 years. But yeah, she's kind of through the connections set up how with Japan. I'm going over there. And yeah, and few excursions to TJPW. So she's doing well as well. To sound like I'm her relative talking in a copy shop or something here. Unlike my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can I say about Setup Thailand? They've been running a while. They kind of came out of originally there was like Gato Move that's become Choco Pro was the only wrestling Thailand, apart from some sort of like Japanese sponsored spot shows with rings. And then Setup was quite a few years ago, I think pre-COVID. And they've gone from strength to strength using the Circus Studio venue you can see here, which is kind of like I think it's like a recording studio, film studio. In the same vein that Vietnam Pro Wrestling that we're not watching today uses Vibe Studio, which is the same sort of thing. It's a recording studio with green screen walls and
Right.
but they make good spaces, good lighting, good production, usually a big screen you can wheel out, that kind of thing. What else could I tell you about Second Time?
Not quite sure what Alexis shouted out into the audience there. I wasn't sure if it was move or
Probably. Again, it's very, very, very tight there. Heard that Singapore Pro Wrestling's home building, Fu Chao building's is a lot wider. They've got a lot more space. But yeah, the circus studio is very, very tight. Not as tight as the Brawl Pit, the Filipino one watched earlier. Yeah, that's the most packed venue. And I've heard from Super Pete, it gets exceedingly hot there.
right.
This one looks a little bit more like it's got AC.
Yeah, it does. I don't know why, but you may know an answer. There may be an answer. I'm not sure what it is. Why do like Southeast Asia wrestling usually have the I'm not quite sure what they're called. The turnbuckles where it's the long pads rather than individual turnbuckles. Why is that like a thing that's usually a thing over there, but we don't see it as much over here, I wonder?
I think that's a Japanese influence. Maybe something to do with the kickboxing. It is partly just because of the free promotions we've watched today do that. Singapore Pro Wrestling though, Vietnam Pro Wrestling have traditional like American style turnbuckles. Yeah, so I think it's that. Maybe it's like the kickboxing influence. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this rig might be a kickboxing.
Right. Okay.
It's big. It's a very big ring, and I've never been quite sure what they use. It certainly comes down. I've seen them. They used it in like at festivals and things as well. They were at a certain festival with to celebrate an activity that's become popular for tourists in Thailand over recent years. It's easy as legalized, but I won't risk your YouTube channel by promoting what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I actually quite like the line term.
I do as well. My wife does not. She always makes it clear in these videos I think she just likes what she knows. And we always have arguments in our 5-star match reviews over different color canvases as well. She's not a big fan of different color canvases.
I think you should just be grateful that you've got a wife who enjoys wrestling.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, totally doesn't get the love, but yeah, so yeah, I'd say that. But yeah, I could talk about ring canvas colors and ring rope colors and
Yeah.
best stages for hours.
Well, that's it. Like, we did the Misawa Kobashi match, the Noah match, and the 5-star match reviews. It's actually been taken off YouTube, but we will be introducing it onto our Patreon that we're going to be releasing soon. Obviously, that had the green mat. I was trying to think of the ones quickly off the top of my head. Tiger Mask versus Kuniaki Kobayashi had the obviously the All Japan one where it was the half and half diagonal at red and blue. I love that mat. I'm trying to think if there was any other special coloured different ones. Oh, in AAA they had the bright yellow mat as well. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
every time we have a different colour mat, I'm like, what do you think of this time? It's like, no, go back to normal.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to when WWE it was what was it WWE 13 or 12 when they started bringing in like the create an arena. I think I spent more time creating arenas
Yeah.
than I did actually playing matches
Yeah.
in the end. You know, and I've been tempted. I haven't had a games console in years. I've been very tempted. Like now, I see some of the options to buy. You know, and then you're like, no, that's like $600 outlay just to play for half an hour
Yeah.
a game that you're probably just going to play with the settings and not actually play the game.
Yeah.
Always tempting.
So the one advantage of having the long pads in the ring corners there is that Alexis Lee didn't go all the way through to the ring post. It actually stops you. So there you go. There's an advantage for the wrestlers.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit more, that's my words, healthier for your shoulders.
Yes.
And was that it? Was that? Nope. That was a false finish. Yeah. This was about midway through, this card. This was kind of this show finishes with the beginning of the real global threat. And what happens in that match, or what happens is basically Shivam and the Statement align. They take out like the locals top babyface Jonathan Johnson, and then Jake DeLeon, who was on the card. He oh, actually, gonna watch this in a minute. He makes the save, and that's the end, and that's leading to the main event tonight in Thailand. Right. As you guess, here's Singapore Pro Wrestling promoter and Real Global Threat member at the end of the night, Andrew Hang, who is coming to help Alexis, which is a bit odd, and we'll talk about it in a moment. Because I have kind of explained it, and I like to think it was me sort of questioning it in my articles in a very indirect way, but probably not. And oopsie daisy. Nacho gives him a stunner. And then
Oh, lovely back suplex there.
wake up the referee. Yeah, basically, at the beginning of the year, Andrew Tang kind of started he was already a heel, but he started his sort of angle push storyline that's carrying on this year. And the first stage, well, he basically came into Alexis Lee's championship match with Yuki Kamifuku, he to the four. He punched her in the face and cost her the match. So however, like the current champion is Singapore, they saved Trent Seven, who was wrestling the Statement in the main event. Then it was the Butcher Man and Alexis versus Yuki and the Statement at the next show, which again the Statement won. But before this match we just watched happened before that, and it was kind of the Statement sort of saying it like, oh, I might hate you, and I'm gonna beat you up in Singapore, but when it comes down to national pride, I'm going to help you. And they kind of did explain that. And then they also actually weirdly tagged together at a another match show called Clash at the Club in Singapore against Wonder Boy and Poppy. But it was, yeah, it's just kind of an interesting feud that sort of skirted around where there's a they're like, we've been growing up together, we're almost like brother and sister. At the moment, we don't really like each other, but if somebody else gets involved in our business, and they did explain it, very well, very much that, like, how you could see like two like brother and sister fighting, and then they suddenly start beating on someone else because their nose it. Um, but yeah, that's sort of Alexis has like then sort of changed direction to go after the Japanese ladies and Yuki, which finished last night, and the statements off on his with this real global threat angle, which is now Emin Asman, Shivam, and him, and they face tonight. They are going to be facing six-man action: Jonathan Johnson, Jake DeLeon, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Amazing. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. I think is a great get for them. Because just the amount of experience that everybody's going to get, from him being there. I genuinely believe he's one of the very, very, very top wrestlers in the whole world at the moment. Well, he's been for such a long time as well. I think he's just, I think he's brilliant. And even though people do talk about him, I still think, in a weird way, maybe because he hasn't had like a big run in a Western company yet. He is still kind of this. People know about the people who do know about him praise him, but he's also kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I think people don't talk about him enough, maybe as well. At the same time, it's a weird kind of dynamic.
It's kind of like he's on that kind of trajectory. I feel like, you've had like Omega, you've had, Jay White, Osprey, and they're all, they filled themselves up, and then they've gone into New Japan. They've reached the top, and then they've all basically come over to AEW. I can't be certain what Zach will do. I don't even know when his New Japan contract will be up or what he's thinking. But like logic, if I was a betting man, I would be putting, money on him coming into AEW in whenever that contract's up, perhaps. And at that point, perhaps if they've gone through what they're doing now and they're looking for, some new top tier talent, that's a good time for him. But yeah, from what I know, he basically, New Japan in the summer, they are they're full on Super Juniors mode, and he kind of comes over and he's sort of doing these shows in Southeast Asia, he enjoys it. I've just kind of assumed he's having a bit of a wrestling holiday, to be honest. He's been to the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. I don't know, he's flying off anywhere in between, or he's just sitting on beaches sipping pina coladas. But yeah, I'd have loved him to come to Vietnam, but obviously Thailand got him for tonight, so we didn't. But then I've seen Zack Sabre Jr. live when he was an emo boy, so
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
it's not as quite as special when you've kind of seen him do that, and you've watched him wrestle all over the United Kingdom. But that's my my privilege from growing up in the UK.
Simon, before we let you go today, we've talked about how great the issues are of the Sea Wrestling magazine. Genuinely, I love this magazine. I'm going to keep getting as many physical copies as I possibly can.
I will hand you some more. Amazing. At the end of the year, the shipping. We are just currently working on a print to order shipping service.
Okay.
So people do want a print copy. There's going to be kind of what I'm going to be looking at is having two tiers. So there'll be a sort of print to order version, which will try and keep the cost as minimal as possible. And then people will be able to order a premium sort of, first run print that I would ship from Vietnam. But the shipping will, I'm not going to lie, the shipping is exceedingly pricey for here for what's actually going out. You know, but I'm trying to make that printing option available and make it as close to the original copies as possible. There just might be a few differences, but yeah, stay tuned. Sort of the second half of 2025 if you're interested in getting some pretty copies.
Oh, so thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm definitely gonna have you on again at some point. It just, we'll keep doing these. Maybe, a couple of times a year, maybe even, and just show me more and more about sea wrestling because you've got so much knowledge on the subject, and I just love learning about all these different subsections of the wrestling world. That I just don't have this knowledge of.
It's been great. Yeah. Been great chatting. Very easy conversation. I wish my life's conversations were as easy as this. And yeah, it's great. And anyone who's watching, please do check out cwrestling.net. Do find out about the Southeast Asian scene. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a great reason to come out to Southeast Asia for a holiday. It's not all just sun, sea, and sand, and cheap booze. There's also pro wrestling, which that might be the seller that convinces you to come out.
There we go. We'll stay on the line. We'll do a proper goodbye after the show as well as we wrap up this show here. Guys, an amazing different kind of interview today, as you could see. I kind of wanted it to be more of just this kind of learning curve along with the people that are watching this video as well. Like I say, I'm by far not an expert on this subject at all, but I just love to learn about new wrestling and new scenes. And we are kind of continually doing this world tour within the wrestling world of trying to learn more stuff. um I kind of now it kind of feels like, when Simon was talking, it feels like kind of when we were 16, around that time, when we were finding these ROH shows and things like that. And, you kind of get into your mindset, I need to know more, I need to see more and learn all these different characters and feuds and everything about this scene. So like to do this again now when we're not 16 anymore, I'll put it that way. It's an amazing feeling to kind of do that all over again. I will put all the links down below as well. I'm going to get them off Simon after the show, and we'll put the links to the Sea Wrestling website. We'll also put links to the actual promotions of the matches we watched today as well, and keep supporting these promotions, especially if you're from that part of the world. Go out to the shows, keep streaming on their devices, everything like that, and just keep spreading the word on social media as well. But as always, guys, if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What is your favorite match within Sea Wrestling and who should we look out for in the near future? As always, guys, look after each other. Peace, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.